What does Rafael Devers getting shut down for the rest of the season say about the Boston Red Sox? All of that and more on today's Locked On Red Sox.
You are Locked On Red Sox, your daily Boston Red Sox podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello and welcome to Locked On Red Sox, your daily Boston Red Sox podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I'm your host, Gabby Hurlbut, former ESPN social media associate and current host of the Boston Balling podcast as well. And I am here to bring you the latest in all things Boston Red Sox, Monday through Friday, straight to your favorite podcast feed. And the best part is it's all completely free. So you might as well check it out because Locked On is your team every day. This episode is brought to you by Booking.com. Booking.yeah. The right stay can make you a fan of any city, even your baseball rivals. Book today on Booking.com, the official accommodation partner of Major League Baseball. Get the Booking.com app today. And I am certainly going to be telling you a lot more about Booking.com a little bit later on today's show. But lots to talk about after a weekend in which the Red Sox made things really interesting against the Twins. Things were looking pretty gloomy after the first game of that series in which the Red Sox lost 4-2 in 12 innings, and they just could not come through in many different opportunities offensively. I mean, in both the 10th and 11th innings, they had opportunities to walk off that game and they couldn't do it. So that game was just beyond frustrating. And Richard Fitts went 5 innings, giving up 5 hits and no earned runs and struck out 3. He's been impressive so far. I really like what I've seen in his couple starts that he's made for this Red Sox team so far. Obviously a really small sample size, but I'm curious to see if he pitches his way into a rotation spot next year, a more regular one, because he certainly has pitched really well so far in his short stint. So I wonder if the Red Sox would consider that. So he didn't deserve what the Red Sox gave him offensively. So a very frustrating game. But then the Red Sox came back and absolutely mashed and swept the doubleheader against the Twins on Sunday after the game on Saturday was postponed to Sunday due to heavy rain in the Boston area. So they were able to get both games in yesterday. And one player that they didn't have primarily in that series was Rafael Devers. He did play on Friday night in the loss and went 1 for 4 in that game with a walk and 3 strikeouts. So the strikeouts have been very high for him this year in terms of the rate that he's been striking out. And he just hasn't been the same Devers as of late that we've seen from him. And he has this shoulder thing that's been nagging him all season long, even going back to spring training. So the Red Sox finally made the move to shut him down for the season on Saturday, because it got to the point where he very clearly was trying to play through pain. And I said on the show a couple weeks ago, is it time to shut down Rafael Devers? And I said, as soon as the Red Sox feel like their season is over and they don't have a chance anymore at getting a playoff spot, then they should shut him down ASAP. And that seems to be exactly what they did. Once they lost that game Friday night against the Twins, their playoff chances seemingly felt like they were non-existent at that point. So Saturday, the Red Sox responded and they shut down Devers for the rest of the season. Technically, he got placed on the 10-day IL with left shoulder inflammation. So obviously, because it's the 10-day IL, that would put us at the end of the season. So we won't see him be playing in any more games. To fill his spot on the active roster, the Red Sox recalled Mickey Gasper from AAA Worcester, who we've seen. He got his major league call up this year, hasn't been able to click offensively for this Red Sox team, and hasn't been able to make his mark yet at the major league level. So in this next week of the season, I'm going to be looking for him to step up more so than he did in his first stint in the majors and see if he's able to make an impact both as a catcher and in the infield. So he took Devers' spot. We will not see Devers anymore this season. But the good news is he did get an MRI done and he expects to be ready for spring training because there's no structural damage in his shoulders, and the MRI concluded that he will not need surgery, which is great news. Left shoulder soreness technically is the official reason that he went on the IL, but he said obviously it was good news that it was nothing serious. I just need to get ready for next year. So the prescription for him essentially right now is rest with the hope that he'll be back at full strength come the 2025 season. Alex Cora said we just need to stay away from him. We think rest will do the work. There's no structural damage. There's no type of surgery or anything. It's just rest. So his MRI exam came on Saturday afternoon, which prompted the team to place him on the IL, showing that there was some severity in the situation with him feeling like he had to get an MRI. So the MRI ended up revealing only inflammation, which is fantastic. He completely dodged a bullet because if he had to get surgery, that's risking that he could miss the entirety of the season next year recovering from that surgery. So that was exactly what we were hoping to avoid. And for him, I think, workload could have been a factor. He tweaked something in his shoulder during spring training and it never got fixed because he didn't get the rest to be able to have the opportunity to fix it. So I think now having the full off season to really focus on resting and recovering, hopefully by spring training of 2025, he will be ready to go. And he feels like he'll be at full strength by then. He'll remain with the Red Sox in the dugout watching the games, and then he'll return home to the Dominican Republic for the offseason, where the Red Sox will set him up with a rehab program, in which case then that'll help speed up the process of him coming back. He was an all-star this year, and he really did carry the Red Sox offense for a lot of the season before his shoulder issues really began affecting him too much to the point where we could totally see him deteriorating at the plate, and it was sad. Even with the injuries, though, he played 138 games and batted .272 with 28 home runs, 83 RBIs, and an .870 OPS. So he still put together a solid season. And he felt like it was a regular season for him, but it was obvious that this shoulder issue was holding him back from really exploding in the second half after the All-Star break and being able to show why he was selected as an All-Star this year. He felt like his numbers weren't great, but they weren't bad. They were just average, and he was doing what he could to help the team. But hopefully he is able to increase his productivity next year when he's hopefully healthy. His average bat speed this year was 73.5 miles an hour in March and April. That decreased to 71.3 miles an hour in September. So that's very telling that his bat speed kept slowly decreasing over these months of the season. And his fast swing rate decreased significantly from 40.4% in March and April to 14.6% in September. So he clearly, throughout the course of the season, was starting to go downhill because of this shoulder thing. And it really affected him a lot, he said. He said it never stopped hurting him and he never felt like himself this year. And that's why when he was sitting in the dugout and you could see him blatantly frustrated, that was why, because it was evident to him that he wasn't doing his job to the level he wanted to. And he knew he had this nagging shoulder thing that he couldn't kick, and he wanted to do more to help the team than what he was doing. So it's got to be frustrating for him. And he's determined to get back on track and be back for the start of the 2025 season. If I'm being really honest, I think the Red Sox waited too long to place him on the IL. I feel like in Cora's mind, he didn't want him to go on the IL too soon when the Red Sox still relatively had a chance in the wild card race, because he didn't want to send the message that he's giving up on his team and his players by putting his best player on the injured list now at this point in the season. So in that regard, I can respect that, hadn't been mathematically eliminated. So he wanted to keep Devers in there until they are, because it sends a message that he still has confidence in the team. So I definitely get that. But at the same time, this team clearly wasn't going to go far in the postseason this year anyway, even if they were to make it. They just have too many issues and holes in this roster. So why not make sure Devers is healthy for the beginning of the season next year? And I feel like they really dodged a bullet by the MRI coming back saying no surgery needed. But I felt like they should have benched him earlier, because it was so obvious that this shoulder thing was really causing him lots of problems. So I'm glad they finally made the decision that they did. I just still think it should have come earlier so that we didn't have to sit there and watch Devers absolutely suffer at the plate and be miserable. But coming up, I'm going to be talking about a guy who had a big day on Sunday in the Red Sox doubleheader. So you definitely will not want to miss that. This episode of Locked On Red Sox is brought to you by Booking.com. Booking.yeah. The right stay can make you a fan of any city, even your baseball rivals. Book today on Booking.com, the official accommodation partner of Major League Baseball. Get the Booking.com app today. Explore those U.S. cities you always secretly wanted to learn more about. With hotels, bed and breakfasts, vacation rentals, resorts, and so much more on Booking.com, you might just find your perfect stay, even in your baseball rival's city during the postseason. I mean, I still hope the Yankees lose in the first round of the postseason, that's for sure. But I do love traveling and going to other cities. And I have used Booking.com many times before to book hotels in other areas, and they really have great deals. So they can hook you up for all the traveling that you're doing. The right stay can make you a fan of any U.S. city, even your rivals. Booking.com, Booking.yeah. Just download the app today, and you can get lots of really good deals on hotels and other travel-related expenses if you use Booking.com. You can also make lots of money if you check out FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Hey, NFL fans, you can start the season with a big return on FanDuel. So when you get a hunch in the middle of the game, you can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you place your bets. You'll get started with $200 in bonus bets, guaranteed, when you place your first $5 bet. That's FanDuel.com. There are so many fun things you could do during football season on FanDuel, and there are so many opportunities to win lots of money. So make sure you download that app today if you haven't already. So Rafael Devers has officially been shut down for the year for the Boston Red Sox. I felt like they waited too long to shut him down, because it was so obvious that he was playing through lots of pain in his shoulder. But we will not see any more of Devers this year. He's going to focus on resting and the recovery that he needs to go through in order to get himself healthy for the start of the 2025 season. So we'll see what happens there. I'm sure we'll get updates throughout the offseason on his recovery process, but Mickey Gasper is up in the majors for him in the meantime as the interim guy to finish out the season for the Red Sox. But one player who had a big day in the Red Sox doubleheader on Sunday was Triston Casas. So after the Red Sox lost game 1 against the Twins on Friday night, 4-2 in 12 innings, they came back and just absolutely crushed it in the doubleheader on Sunday, winning the first game 8-1 and the second game 9-3. And honestly, I was looking at it after Friday night and after the game on Saturday got postponed to Sunday. And I was like, well, this stinks. Like, there's no way they're going to sweep the doubleheader. But boy, was I wrong. And I was so happy to be wrong. And that is many thanks to Triston Casas, who had a big game in game 1, crushing 3 home runs in his first 3 at-bats, driving in 7 of the Red Sox 8 runs in the game. He was an absolute monster in that game. It was so fun to watch. It's his first career hat trick, and it ended up leading the Red Sox to fuel that fire to sweep the doubleheader. His 3-homer game clearly set the tone for the whole day because everybody else followed suit after he put on a show. He helped the Red Sox to get back to 500 at 78-78, and they do now sit 4 games back in the AL wildcard race with 6 games remaining, so obviously not likely that they'll get into the playoffs, but I guess you never know. Alex Cora said we're going to keep playing. We're going to keep playing all the way to the end, and Casas certainly embodied that principle of playing all the way to the end. He hit 2 homers off of Minnesota's ace, Pablo Lopez, who literally has been one of the best pitchers in the American League this year. So it's crazy how much he got tossed around. I mean, this Red Sox team just pounced all over him, Casas especially, and then he hit the 3rd home run off reliever Brent Hedrick, and then the Red Sox offense erupted again in the 9-3 win in the nightcap. But Casas felt really good about it. He said, I felt the most locked in I have all season. The swing felt effortless. We love the word effortless because he has seriously struggled a lot since coming back from the injured list. And I was waiting for that breakthrough moment for him. And it finally happened. A huge game that was centered around Casas and he was the story is a huge confidence boost for him moving forward. So it was so nice to see him just crush baseballs all over the place on Sunday. First career 3-homer game for Casas, who was a finalist for AL Rookie of the Year last year, but has played only 57 games this season due to that rib injury that he did have. He now has 12 home runs in those 57 games, which is on pace for a 34-homer season over 162 games, which nobody's complaining about that. If Casas had come in and hit 34 home runs this year, that's solid. He said, it feels good. I know I have that potential, maybe not to hit 3 home runs every game, but to hit the ball like that. I know I can do it. It's just a matter of consistency and doing it over and over. Boston's previous 3-homer game prior to this was by Trevor Story against the Mariners on May 19th, 2022. So it had been a couple years since it happened, but Casas is riding a complete high now, and I'm so glad he finally did something and had a breakthrough that hopefully helped raise his confidence level a little bit, because it has to have been discouraging and frustrating for him with how slow he started off since coming back from the injured list. He said, I don't know how long I'll carry today's thoughts with me. I don't know how many more at-bats it will last, but it was good for those 3 at-bats for sure. Hitting comes and goes, and the timing is happy-go-lucky sometimes. But today it felt like for those 3 at-bats, it was consistent. His 3 home runs went to every part of the ballpark. The first one went to deep right center field in the first inning, and the other one went over the Green Monster in the 3rd. And then when the Twins went to the bullpen to face him leading off the 5th, he took the Twins reliever deep to center field in a lefty-lefty matchup. So nothing was stopping Casas in that game. And then in game 2 of the doubleheader, you could tell the Twins were just over him because they were kind of pitching around him as he did take 2 walks in the Red Sox 9-3 win in game 2. So they were definitely walking on eggshells with him in the second game, which obviously I can't blame them for that. But what a game for Casas, and a breakthrough game like this is such a promising sign for the future. And I have seen a lot of people on Twitter say we should trade Triston Casas. Why? Who would play first base if they traded Triston Casas? That's point number 1. Point number 2 is with how much he's been developing and growing, and the fact that he was a finalist for Rookie of the Year last year, and he has all of this potential for an organization that is focusing so much on its future. Why would you want to trade somebody who could be a centerpiece of that future? And what are you trading him for? Because if it's for an ace caliber starting pitcher, they can break out the checkbook and sign somebody in free agency. They don't need to trade for a high caliber starting pitcher when there are some available on the market, and they're the Boston Red Sox that they can easily afford to pay pitchers like that. So they shouldn't have to trade for somebody like that. And that's the only caliber of player I would even think of trying to get in return if I was going to move Triston Casas. I mean, his value is so high. He has to be a player that you don't settle for scraps. If you trade him, you want to get legitimate players, and you can get legitimate players on the free agent market. So I'm not really understanding the argument of, oh, we should trade Triston Casas, because quite frankly, if he hadn't been injured this year, he, to me, I think would have had a huge season in which he was at the heart of the Red Sox offense. And for an offense that has been really inconsistent this year, wouldn't you want to add his bat back in next year, especially considering the fact that you're losing a big power bat in Tyler O'Neill? So most likely, I mean, they might re-sign him, but most likely not. I see him walking in free agency. So if that's the case, then why would you want to subtract a player from your lineup who has been so impactful in it? And obviously the injury wasn't his fault, so we can't really take that into consideration here. But I think it's important to understand the value that Casas provides. And you can't just throw anybody at first base. What are you going to do? Have Dahlbeck play first base now that he's back in AAA? I mean, yes, he's a good defensive first baseman, but we all know the guy's hitting is absolutely insufferable. So are they going to say, okay, yeah, we'll just settle with Dahlbeck at first base? Because then people would be complaining about how bad Bobby Dahlbeck is. And then I'll come back and say, well, you wanted Triston Casas traded, so this is what you get in return. Unless they do trade Casas and they sign a first baseman on the free agent market or something, but I'm not liking that either. I feel like Casas has really established himself and worked hard to be a key centerpiece of this Boston Red Sox organization in the future. So I feel like it would be a huge slap in the face to him if the Red Sox were to move him. I just don't think that's fair or makes sense right now. I feel like with what the Red Sox are trying to do and what they have going for them right now, they should keep Casas in the mix because he, to me, makes the team better. And having a 3-run game in which he's crushing 3 homers, that to me shows that he's finding his swing again. That to me shows that he just needed to have that breakthrough moment because he had kind of lost his swing and his technique a little bit, and he had forgotten about what was working for him and what wasn't working for him prior to him getting injured. So the fact that he had as big of a game as he did in game 1 of that doubleheader goes to show me that with all the frustration that he has seen lately, he's finally been able to put things back together. And when he's finally putting things back together, why would you want to ruin that and move him to a different team and then feel like you're missing something? Because he's one of those players to me that you feel like you miss because he's a core piece of this team. Like you feel like if he leaves, you're finding yourself saying, oh, I wish Casas was still here. And that's the impact that he makes. So I'm not agreeing at all with people who say he should be traded. If anything, I think try to loop somebody like Yoshida maybe into a package or even Abreu because the outfield situation is pretty packed right now. But I'm not moving Triston Casas. He is the first baseman. They traded a good first base prospect for pitching at the trade deadline. So if you have an option for who could play first base, then by all means propose it. But I'm not trading Triston Casas. He's too important to the future for me. Coming up, speaking of the now versus the future, the Red Sox did make a couple roster moves over the weekend that I want to go over. So that's coming up next. If you're looking for a fun way to play daily fantasy sports, PrizePicks is the right place for you. It's America's #1 daily fantasy sports app with over 5 million active members. PrizePicks is the easiest and most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. Unlike other apps, on PrizePicks, it's just you against the numbers. All you do is pick more or less on 2 to 6 player stat projections and watch the winnings roll in. Want to play PrizePicks alongside Drewski, Joe Budden, and MMA champ Sugar Sean O'Malley? You can now find community plays under the promos tab of the app to view entries from some of the biggest names in the PrizePicks community each week. PrizePicks is the only real money daily fantasy platform with an injury insurance policy so that your lineups stay in play even if one of your players gets injured. If your player leaves in the first half and doesn't return, your prize picks are still live. All you have to do to take advantage of all of this is download the Prize Picks app today and use code LOCKEDONMLB and get $50 instantly when you play $5. That's code LOCKEDONMLB on Prize Picks to get $50 instantly when you play $5. You don't even need to win to receive the $50 bonus. It's guaranteed. Prize Picks, run your game. Run your game says it all. Determine your own destiny. Prize Picks has you covered, and they will just give you the money. So in talking about the Red Sox and Rafael Devers and Triston Casas, guys who have been seen as key pieces to the Red Sox future, there is another player that the Red Sox are looking at to hopefully be part of that future for them, and that is Vaughn Grissom, who got recalled from AAA Worcester on Friday because the Red Sox had to place Rob Refsnyder on the 10-day injured list with a right forearm strain. So Vaughn Grissom got his opportunity because of that and was called up. And the thing with this is obviously it's a small sample size because we haven't been able to see a lot of him since he played a few games at the major league level and then he got injured. So he was out. And then when he came back from his injury, they sent him to AAA. So we haven't really been able to see a ton of Vaughn Grissom yet, but I'm really hoping that he is able to show a little bit more than what he's giving us. On Friday, when that move was made, when they placed Refsnyder on the IL and they called Grissom up, he did come in to pinch hit for Devers late in the game and went 0 for 1 on that at bat. So I definitely want to see more from him at the plate. He was in the lineup in the first game of the doubleheader playing second base and went 1 for 4 with a strikeout in that game. And then in the second game of the doubleheader when the Red Sox won 9-3, he was not in the lineup for that game. So again, not many at-bats that we've seen from him, but he definitely does need to start to step things up a little bit because we want to know and feel reassured as fans that the Chris Sale trade wasn't a complete bust. And I don't think we're going to know that right now because it's not fair to evaluate Grissom based on right now and what he's been doing and the small sample size he's given us. But if the small sample size he's given us is any indication of the player he's going to be, it might not be that promising of a sign for Boston. I just think the injuries have gotten in the way a lot with him, though. So I definitely want to give him more of a chance to showcase what he can do for this Red Sox team over the last week or so of the season, but also even going into next year, especially because there's competition in the infield now with Christian Campbell, and he's tearing it up in the minors. So that probably is going to put a little bit more pressure on Grissom to say, hey, I have to step up if I want a roster spot on this team next year, if I want to solidify myself. So he's going to have to take some good at-bats and start to make an impact, or the Red Sox might look into moving on from him, which is unfortunate because when they traded for him, they spoke really highly of him and talked a lot about how he would be part of the future of this Red Sox organization. So hopefully he's able to figure things out a little bit and he can at least stay healthy so that he has the opportunity to do that. So I'm looking at Grissom to be a big player to watch in the next week as the season winds down, see if he can start to find his groove at the plate and get some more reps in so that he can get used to playing at Fenway Park on that big of a stage with all the pressure around him. And hopefully it leads to him having better results as he gets used to things. So definitely eyeing that situation as we progress over the rest of the season. But another move the Red Sox did make was they reinstated right-handed pitcher Luis Garcia from the 15-day injured list on Saturday. To make room for Garcia, the Red Sox optioned right-handed pitcher Cooper Criswell back to AAA Worcester. I mean, he has been back and forth so many times this year between the majors and AAA. It's not fair to him, really. And overall, he has been pitching decently for the Red Sox. Like, he's put together some good starts. He's looked good out of the bullpen overall, but he's been that guy that's done the switcheroo. When there's an injury and they need to call somebody up, they bring up Criswell. When that person's back, they send him back down. So definitely kind of the guy who they move around a lot. So hopefully he can establish some consistency and be a guy the Red Sox can feel confident in down the road, keeping on the major league team. But he's 28 years old, pitched the 12th inning in the Red Sox loss on Friday night against the Twins. The right-handed pitcher has pitched in a career-high 26 games, 18 of those being starts, posting a 4.08 ERA, which is having given up 45 earned runs over 99.1 innings pitched with 73 strikeouts on the season. He was originally selected by the Angels in the 13th round of the 2018 first-year player draft. He's a Georgia native, and he owns a 1.40 ERA, only giving up 4 earned runs over 25.2 innings pitched in 5 games, all of those being starts for Worcester this year. So he kills it in AAA. Like, he is tearing it up when he's pitching down there. So that's why a lot of times the Red Sox see something in him and they decide they want to bring him back up, because they're like, well, he's still pitching well in AAA, so he should get his shot. So that's kind of part of the mentality for them calling him back up and sending him back down as often as they do, because when he gets called up, sometimes he doesn't pitch as well. That's up to their expectations. So they send him back down to get more reps. So he did pitch in that Friday night game in the 12th inning, and he was the one who gave up those 2 earned runs, pitching just 1 inning, giving up 3 hits and 2 earned runs, 1 walk and 1 strikeout. And he took the loss in the game because he was the one that blew it for them. So the Red Sox probably were like, all right, we've seen enough. When we call Garcia back up, we'll send him back down. So Criswell back down in AAA, Garcia back up, 37 years old, was placed on the IL with right elbow inflammation on August 27th. He pitched in 1 rehab game with Worcester, tossing a scoreless inning on September 17th at Lehigh Valley. He was acquired by the Red Sox from the Angels on July 30th. Right-handed pitcher who owns a 10.32 ERA, literally gave up 13 earned runs over 11.1 innings pitched in 11 games with the Red Sox this year. He was originally signed by the Dodgers as an international free agent in January 2004. The DR native has posted a 4.16 ERA, giving up 242 earned runs over 524.0 innings pitched in 541 career games, 4 of those being starts with the Phillies, Angels, Rangers, Cardinals, Padres, and Red Sox. So this guy's been around a lot, and overall he has posted a decent ERA, and in general in his career hasn't struggled nearly as much as he did in Boston prior to getting injured. So maybe the injury was part of that, but I'm curious to see now that he went through his process of healing from his injury and is now back. I'm hoping we get a new and improved version of him. That would be fantastic. And he did make an appearance in the doubleheader for the Red Sox, pitching in the first game. And he pitched 1 inning, giving up 0 earned runs and striking out 1. So he looked really good in the inning that he did pitch, and then he didn't pitch in the second game because they didn't need him to. Cutter Crawford went 7.2 innings, giving up 8 hits, but just 3 earned runs and 7 strikeouts. So he pitched really deep into the game. And then Josh Winkowski pitched the rest of it, pitching the last 1.1 innings, giving up a walk and striking out 1. So great pitching performance overall there by Crawford and then Winkowski, but we did see Garcia in the first game, and overall he looked good. So I'm hoping we get a new and improved version of him, because that would be huge for this Red Sox team as they look to formulate their bullpen for next year. After this show, you can tune into Locked On MLB. I appreciate you always making Locked On Red Sox your first listen of every day. Host Paul Sullivan, aka Sully, has you covered next to talk about all things going on across the league and keep you updated on the baseball world in general. He's so funny and his show is super fun. So I highly recommend you checking out his show on any podcast platform after this. And like I always say, keep the faith, go Red Sox, and I will catch you on the flip side.